It's Edmonton's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Mario Toneguzzi coming to you today with Edmonton's podcast, a member of Canada's Podcast Network, where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen in Edmonton, Alberta, so you can listen, discover, and engage. Today's guest is Dana Bouwman, account executive at Insight Insurance and Risk Management. Thanks for joining us today, Dana.
Thanks for having me, Mario.
Tell me a little bit about what Insight is and does.
Sure. So Insight Insurance is an insurance brokerage here in Edmonton, and we focus on mid to large size companies, which is kind of cool. I like to focus on construction companies, tech, manufacturing, and I guess for people that don't know, the difference between an insurance broker and an insurance company is we kind of just facilitate the policy on your behalf with the insurance company, and we negotiate rates and stuff like that. So that's what I do.
How did you get
my notifications? I meant to turn those off.
No worries. How did you get involved in this, and why?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a long story, so I'll give you the Coles notes. But a family friend said that I'd really enjoy insurance. And at first I wasn't totally sure. I had never been an employee before, except for working at McDonald's when I was 14. And so even when I first started in insurance, I was like, I'm just going to be a subcontractor. I don't want to be someone's employee. But I really enjoy it. It works with my personality. I love being technical, and I also love talking to people. So I guess that's how I got started. And I've kind of blossomed as well. I've been doing it now for over 2 years, and I see myself doing it for the next, 5-10 years for sure. Yeah.
When you, being based in Edmonton, tell me what the benefits are of working and doing business in Edmonton these days.
Well, this is something I love talking about. So Edmonton is really it's a relationship-based city. It really helps that it's quite small. So it feels like a lot of people, like everyone knows everybody. And it just helps with business as well, just because when we're talking to say an underwriter about what we need for our client's insurance, it's I can say that I know this person, I can vouch for them. So that's definitely a plus. And Edmonton is just a really interesting city. I mean, we're just about to hit 1 million people. And I don't know if you read this, but it was in the news recently that Edmonton is probably going to be doubling in size in the next 30 years. So, wow. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So just being a part of that is really interesting. And there's a lot of people in Edmonton, I think, that are excited about our growth and where we can go.
So are there challenges right now of doing business in Edmonton?
There are definitely, just because of, we're in Alberta. So yeah. That's probably the one thing that a lot of people will talk about is the economy. I mean, that hurts a lot of people. I think in a lot of ways, people in Edmonton are very resilient. So I know a lot of the people that I'm talking to, maybe 5 years ago, they were making money in a certain way, and they just had to adapt and change just because of the economy. And mm-hmm. Now, if anything, maybe they're being more profitable, or their profit margins are a little bit larger, or just things are definitely changing in Edmonton because of the economy. And it's definitely a struggle. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think a lot of people have overcome that struggle, and we're continuing to grow, like I said. So.
Mm-hmm. Would you recommend Edmonton for people to start up businesses?
Yeah, I would. And here's why. Like I said, Edmonton is growing. We're seeing the projections are that Edmonton should grow to 2 million people, so double in size in the next 30 years. So I think it's really important. If someone starts a business here in Edmonton today, you'll be a part of that growth. So mm-hmm. I think that's really good. And then Edmonton is the number 3 or 4 city. I'm not totally sure where exactly we are in the rankings, but we're 3rd or 4th in the whole world when it comes to machine learning and artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of tech companies that maybe are starting up in Edmonton and seeing success. So mm-hmm. especially if you're in tech, I would say come to Edmonton.
In your career, what's been the biggest challenge that you've faced and had to overcome?
There's a lot of challenges, especially being a young person. And this is another thing that I'm really passionate about is talking to young people. Just, I think right for me, the biggest challenge is just that I don't know everything. So sometimes it can be a huge struggle, just like figuring things out. And I don't always know what path to go down. So the way I kind of get around that is I like to surround myself by really good, like experienced people who have been there and done that. I have a couple mentors in my life and they help me out. So it's challenging for sure being a young person in business, but as long as you have like a couple people that can help you out, help you with negotiating, like help you, like they can kind of warn you and say, hey, like me, that's like you're spinning your wheels here. Like with me, let's move on to something that'll be a little bit better for you. Like that helps a lot. So.
So you recommend a career in insurance for young people?
Yes, I do. I think there's nothing wrong with insurance at all. The only little thing that I would say is that there's automation that's definitely coming, and I think insurance is going to be one of the casualties. So I do recommend insurance for young people, but I would just say like be aware that automation is coming. So just always look to diversify your skill set and look at how you can make sure that you're useful for employees in the future, or figure out like your own business strategy, stuff like that. So insurance is really good though for learning about a whole bunch of different companies and different industries. Like for example, I can be talking to someone who owns like an ice cream food truck in the morning, and then in the afternoon talking to like someone who owns a construction company. So there's a huge range of people that I talk to, and it's really good for that.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but I get a lot of inspiration and creativity in kind of the weirdest places and things that I do. Is there anything that you do, whether it's some passions or some hobbies or whatever, where inspiration just flows for your work?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess I can talk about my hobbies. So I love playing squash on Friday nights.
People still do that?
Yes. It's so much fun.
It's actually something that you don't see anymore. That squash used to be the rage years ago, but I didn't think it still was.
Really? No, I've been trying to get lots of people out to play squash. The only issue is that my work keeps giving me like items that I have to go to on Friday nights. Friday nights are usually the day that I go to, so I haven't been in a month, but I love it. The club that I go to is the Edmonton Squash Club, and it's really interesting because you can play like 10-minute, like really quick games with 2 other people. So it's kind of like a king's court sort of thing. And then you get off after 10 minutes, and then you just kind of like sit in the waiting area, and then you talk to other people. So it's really conversational and social, and that's probably the part that I love the most.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I play soccer on Sunday nights. And huge fan of the Oilers, obviously, because my company insures like the whole ice district, which includes Rogers Arena.
Wow.
And I'm actually going to a game tonight, Flames versus Oilers. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, but in terms of creativity, I mean, I've just kind of had a bit of an interesting path in life for sure. And I was always my own business owner, like sole proprietor, and I own my own small businesses. So like I know what it's like to have to go out there and be creative, and like you always have to be working really hard to be able to make sure that you're doing a good job at your work.
So what kind of things did you do as a small business owner?
It was kind of like whenever I saw an opportunity, I would kind of jump on it, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes it wasn't. Probably the one that I think is most interesting is I was in computer science in university, and this thing called WordPress came out, which if you don't know what it is, that's totally fine. But at the time, like websites cost $12,000 minimum to make. So quite a bit of money, and it was mostly just the labor. Like that cost so much. But WordPress came out, and it was kind of like this system where you could drag and drop and create like a website for relatively low price.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just saw an opportunity, and I decided to go like drop out of university and go straight into industry, and just created my own business. And I sold WordPress websites, and I made really good money.
I use a lot of WordPress in my job. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So that's the thing though, is that like at the time, nobody used WordPress. So it was kind of a unique thing, and I can make quite a bit of money at it. These days, I mean, you can hire someone in India that will make a website for you for like $250. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not viable as a business strategy anymore. But that was probably the most interesting. I owned a property management company as well, just because I own a condo, and the property management company that we had was not great. And I was like, I could definitely do better.
Yeah.
So I started that company, and yeah, there's been a couple different areas, but insurance is probably the one area where I've stuck with it because I really enjoy it. And like I said, first time that I'm an employee, it's really great having someone else paying for your health insurance and
Yeah, and all that stuff. Yeah. Hey, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received about being involved in business?
I would probably swing back to my earlier comment about mentorship for young people, because I haven't been in business for that long, but it's just incredibly important to have someone who can help you out. Yeah, for business, I mean, the thing is like every single business is so unique and different. I guess like one thing I would say too is just if you are going to be spending like 40, 50, 60 hours a week on one area of business, then it's something that like if you're not passionate about it, then find a way to become passionate about it and like find the areas that you really enjoy. I know that like not every single part of what I do with insurance is super enjoyable, but there are parts that definitely like sing to me and I really enjoy it. So that's what I would say. You need to find your passion within your own industry and use that as your driver to like do a really good job.
So if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you do?
I would do insurance. I would do it. I think that's what I was doing, was like jumping from one thing to another until I found something that I liked. I love insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a couple of kind of personal type questions. Everybody has a bucket list these days, personal bucket list of what they want to do. Is there anything that is sitting on top of your list right now?
Well, good question. I guess sitting on top of my bucket list would be travel. I have traveled quite a bit to like the US, but in Europe, but I haven't gone to Africa before. So I would love to go to South Africa or Ethiopia. I think that would be really cool.
Okay.
Professionally, I mean, I've struggled quite a bit in business because I was always jumping from one thing to another. So I was always kind of in like the beginning stages of my career and never really progressing. So I think for me, like I just entered that intermediate stage, and I can talk with authority about what I'm passionate about, which is insurance. And on my bucket list is probably to achieve like the advanced stage. So I'm someone who can like start mentoring other people, and someone who has like the experience to back the knowledge.
Are you a reader?
Yes.
What are you reading right now?
Okay, so I read for work. So that takes up a lot of my mental capacity when it comes to reading. But when it comes, okay, so I have a couple. My friend Mark Donnelly, who works at ATB, recommended that I should read How to Get to Yes. And it's a book on like it's a business book, and I think it's really interesting. And I'm just starting that. And then my friend Tom Uminski, who works at Xerox, I forget what the name of the book was called, and I can look it up here, but it was like How to Negotiate or some, Never Split the Difference, which is another apparently really, really good business book. And then personally, I'm in the middle of reading this one book that is called Putin's Country. And I forget who the author is, but it's really interesting because this author visited Russia every single year for 20 years for like 3 months at a time. So she didn't become like a local, like she was always, so if you look at it objectively. And each chapter of this book is following the same person throughout that whole 20 years. So she talks like about like a cabbie driver and like his struggles, and just a whole bunch of different people. So it's really interesting. I haven't picked it up in a little while, but I'm looking forward to finishing it for sure because like each chapter is very different and gives you like a look into their life and how life has changed as well since the USSR fell. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. If you had to choose one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
intense.
Okay. Why?
um, I'm so I'm not great at all things, but there are some things that I'm really good at. As like insurance is one of them. And yeah, when I find something that I really love and that I want to get better at, like I put all of my energy into that. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you mentioned travel earlier. Outside of Edmonton, is there a favorite place that you've been to that you would like to go to and spend time?
I've been to quite a few places. I mean, I went to Holland, the Netherlands, a couple years ago. My grandparents are Dutch, so that was
Oh,
kind of
okay.
cool seeing them. I actually really like Edmonton. It's really funny because the way I look at it is I should try and make enough money so I can travel. But then I always come home to Edmonton because Edmonton is such, like, it's just home to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love Edmonton for sure. But I mean, in terms of travel, I mean, I've been to Vegas quite a few times, which is always fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a daily routine, do you have one? Like, do you do something every day, almost religiously?
Check my LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn.
Okay.
I
Why is
love,
that?
I always love, well, I post on there on a regular basis, so that's fun. But also just keeping up to date with everyone else in the business community and seeing what they're doing. Yeah, it's always really interesting when someone posts. I really enjoy it if they're posting about progress that they're making in work or something new that they're doing. I don't really have a routine too much. Like at my company, my CEO's philosophy is that she hires like people who are really good at what they're doing and they don't need to be micromanaged. So it's not like I come in and have to do something specific or I have to meet certain metrics every single day. Like we get together probably every 3 months and she's like, okay, so where are you? And like, what are your goals and what are we doing? But really my day is my own and I use it to my advantage for sure. I mean, I'm not just like wasting time, but every
Okay.
day is different.
Okay, I'm going to ask you kind of an oddball question.
Sure.
Okay, so imagine a small tropical island in the middle of the ocean, and it only has one phone booth and no other technology, no internet, etc. We're going to drop you off there, and at any time you can use the phone booth on the island to call the boat, and we'll come pick you up. A couple of things. First of all, how long would you last before making that phone call? And what do you think you'd be doing while you were there?
You're not getting a phone call. It sounds like a free vacation to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a couple of weeks before you get that phone call and probably just relaxing. It sounds like a fun time. Thanks for
Okay.
that.
Super. Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add, Dana, before you leave us today?
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, this has been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And I want to say that I'm always looking to promote both my industry. I'm looking to promote Edmonton. And I'm a part of a couple different associations that I think you guys should check out. So one of them is the Edmonton Construction Association, which represents the second largest construction community in Canada, which is the Edmonton Construction Community. And then the second one is the Association for Corporate Growth, which is a group that helps companies move from like SME into like the mid-sized space. So, and I'm on the board for both of those groups.
Okay, super. Thanks for joining us today, Dana.
Thanks for having me.